I'm joined in the studio by Aviva Steinberger. She's the Director of Innovation Diplomacy at Startup Nation Central. Sorry, I messed that up a bit. Great to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Indeed. Now, I just gave some statistics for the UAE. Is it a similar picture for the other countries in the Abraham Accords?
Absolutely. We're seeing the numbers of increase in trade exponential across the board. In Morocco, we're talking about numbers that increase over 200%, numbers of incredible growth in Bahrain, and we're also seeing the influence in countries that are outside of the Accords but older friends of ours in Egypt and Jordan following those trends of increased trade.
What would you say is driving that growth then? Is it any particular sector or industry?
Yeah, so a lot of the sectors focused on shared challenges that we have, challenges around agriculture, water security, energy challenges. A lot of the collaboration coming out of the countries is on trade in those sectors, but there's also a lot happening in the collaboration that goes beyond the numbers and beyond the business transaction. There's a lot of engagement happening between the countries from an ecosystem to ecosystem level, thinking about ways in which we can share knowledge and talk about these shared challenges. So, for example, if we're sitting with countries that are dealing with severe drought, like in Morocco, they're seeing the worst drought they've seen in 20 years, how can we have a conversation that's being driven by innovation? And Startup Nation Central is driving some of those conversations with these countries in talking about where we can collaborate and where the Israeli ecosystem has strengths and how they match the needs in the region.
Right, and I was speaking to one of our Emirati commentators earlier today, and she says, you know, ties are moving along very quickly, but there is a certain element of the countries, the peoples in the countries are still getting to know each other, still getting to understand each other. Have there been any cultural misunderstandings when it comes to doing business, do you think?
Yeah, culture is a huge aspect in all of this. First of all, to clump all the Abraham Accords countries together and talk about the region in one basket, it's not the right approach. The needs coming out of and the cultures associated with the relationship with the UAE and with Bahrain and Morocco, each one is very different. There are different needs, and where they meet Israeli culture is also sometimes a challenge. So on the one hand, we're talking about long-term relationships and a long-term game. So Startup Nation Central has been building these relationships from the very beginning once the accords have been signed, and we've led to business engagements that start slowly but are constantly thinking about what the long-term goal is. Much of what we're doing, whether it's building the first bilateral innovation conference that we held in Morocco, a similar one that was held in November here in Israel with the Emiratis, where they brought a business delegation. The idea is to build the ties, focus on the relationships, and the business will follow.
So moving forward, then, how can all of the countries involved build on the momentum that we've seen so far?
Yeah, I think it's about fostering those relationships, looking at it from both a government level, a multinational corporation level, business level, academia level, and of course people-to-people level.
Absolutely. Aviva Steinberger, great to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.